Patrick McNeil back here for another episode of the Inside the Nest podcast, joined by my co-host Brad Chandler, and with a guest, no stranger to Eagles fans. Everybody will know the face and name. Former Eagles star Chris Culligan and former Eagles assistant coach Chris Culligan. Chris, sitting here at center quarter with the seats in the background and your jersey in the background, when you come back to the rink, how much do you come back to your playing days, or is that all in the distant past now?
Yeah, probably not that much. Like the rink itself, that brings me back to that. I will say this year's playoff run was the first time that I missed playing hockey since I stopped playing. Just seeing the crowd support and the atmosphere of the community kind of come together and how much that means, I know, to the organization. That for me was like a big part of why I loved playing so much and getting to play at home. So that alone probably brought me back quite a bit, and being at the game with Shep and Doyd, a couple of guys that I played with at the same time in round two there was pretty that was a part, I guess, that would have brought me back to it. But on your average game day, like I think I'm I moved on from that part of just immediately going back to my days.
Well, you're one of the local guys that still lives in the area, and I think I've seen you in almost every game this year. Like, what is it that makes you, still come to these games?
Great question. It's there's just a connection. Like it's played such a big part of my life for who I've become, probably as a person, not even just in hockey, but overall, and how much that's helped me develop into the person that I am. That can bring you together as a family when you need support like that to get through those kind of times, and you're on the road and you're traveling and all that kind of stuff. The financial support, like you probably start to get to that age where you realize the sacrifices that your family's made at the same time. So there's that part as well. Friendships inside the game, outside of the game. It's all just played such a big part of my life that I always want the organization to have success and to succeed, and so coming and watching is just, it's a part of, taking it in, just almost as a fan in some ways, but feeling like it's still just, I'm connected to it.
I think it was pretty cool when he was there with Gardiner MacDougall, James Shepard, just kind of tying together that 2007 team with this current era, which is really fun. We're coming up on the draft as we record this. You're drafted in 2004. What are your memories of that whole lead up? And I was explaining to Brad, you had the opportunity to be picked only in the first 5 rounds because of the way the cutoff worked, and you kind of made it just under the wire, picked in that 5th round. Yeah,
pretty funny when you look back, I guess, and how it's gone for me, and how close it probably was to not even happening, really. My memories are so different because I believe that draft was in Baie-Comeau, and it was just a different time. Like, there wasn't as much attention on – there was a CSR list and all that, but it wasn't as common to have an agent, I don't think, at that time. You're not just seeing, like, clips of people or highlights of prospects, or I don't know. It just felt like there wasn't as much attention on it, or maybe I was sheltered from that because I don't think I even knew the year before that I was a year away from, like, potentially being drafted.
Wow.
So to me, it was just all like,
times.
Yeah, very, very, it happened so quick. But I was in a situation where I was just playing hockey, like even in midget at that time. It wasn't like it was a stressful time. Like I barely understood what the potential was or what the consequences would be of having a bad year or anything like that. So I was just playing hockey with my buddies to see, pretty much. And when through the year, I remember doing one face-to-face interview, and that was with the Eagles. And I think I had only been in contact with 3 teams before the draft. So, like you said, you can only get drafted in the first 5 rounds. It wasn't something where my parents were like, "We got to go to Baie-Comeau." It was. I don't even think we had that conversation, to be honest. It was never something where we were going to do that. If it was closer, maybe that's different. But
right.
Just not knowing for sure if it was going to happen, I don't know that it would have even changed anything. So I did spend the day watching the draft, but it was as much like I had friends that were going to be selected who were a year older or the same age. I had known Shep a little bit. We had played some spring hockey together when we were younger, so knowing he was going first and to Cape Breton pretty much, it was it was cool to just watch that and see that happen, even if it was just watching a name pop up on a screen. But yeah, it was. I can't remember if I got the phone call right before or right after. I want to say it was right after. So it was very, very not what you would expect. Like when you watch all the NHL picks now and they have people at home and everyone's watching, there's a big celebration. I remember sitting at the computer by myself and seeing my name pop up and being like, oh, there it is. Like that was that. And then maybe 5 minutes later, a phone call. So that was my experience with the draft. It wasn't a stressful time. And even going into that year, like I didn't have the pressure of needing to be on the team or even expecting to be on the team. It was go to training camp, get experience. Maybe it helps me for my 17-year-old year.
So knowing that, like you said, if you weren't really that engaged with it, were you hoping that it was at least going to be Cape Breton that was going to draft you?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big homebody, to be honest. So I think I would have. I don't think. I know I would have had some struggles with the two other teams that I remember talking with were Baie-Comeau and Rouen. So
wow.
If it
There's
was
the three outposts,
yeah,
really.
If it was one of those two, I think I would have had some struggles with going away and being in a different language speaking place and not having the support of, or close support anyway, of friends and family and stuff like that. So I was pretty happy that it was Cape Breton.
Yeah, you get to play your whole career in your hometown. I feel maybe you more than a lot of people really seem to appreciate what that meant too.
Yeah, and you don't even realize, because like Brendan had the same experience, right? And you don't realize how lucky that is. We had two people in the same draft in the same year go and do that and play 3 years. I think 3 for Brendan, 5 for myself, but we both played our whole careers there. So it was cool to have him go through that same experience at the same time. But yeah, then you start to hear about how rare that can be, I guess, in the league in general. So it's always nice to be able to, you feel like growing up, you're watching that team or listening to that team. For me, it was a lot of listening to them on the radio and acting out the games, honestly, in like mini sticks in my living room and playing as both teams. But you feel like you're a part of that. So when you get to actually be a part of it, yeah, it's a little more exciting for sure.
I didn't realize that you and Shep were the same year.
Yeah.
What a big year for the Eagles.
Yeah, and Dean Ouellette was also in that draft
No
class
way.
too.
Wow,
So
yeah.
that
04.
was that 04
Was it
draft
04?
was legendary in
04,
Eagles
yeah.
circles.
Where was? Oh yeah, but you said Baie-Comeau.
I believe so. I wouldn't even know for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say Shep would have been there. You know if any of the other guys, would Brendan or Dean have gone to that draft?
I don't think Brendan. I'm not sure about Dean. For some reason, I think there was a little uncertainty about what Dean was going to do.
He might have wanted to go to the U.S. He wasn't sure.
I think so, but maybe I'm just completely making
Right.
that
I
up.
think
I don't
that
know.
seems to be jogging my memory as well. So,
Yeah.
very different time.
Yeah.
So like, was there a time in that 5 years that like you thought you might have got traded, or are you close to getting traded or anything like that, or were you pretty confident?
I mean, if it did, it didn't get to me. The one, I guess, that you would have thought was maybe our last year where we had. I think we had like 14 rookies, or maybe it was my second last year.
Yeah, the 07-08 was pretty young going in after the Valdor series.
And we had some older guys, but we traded for Clendenning.
Right.
We traded LeBrouge for Clendenning. And we had first-year kids that were doing really well and having success. So we had a weird mix of like two opposite ends of the age spectrum, I guess, for us. So we just rolled with it. I don't know if there was thoughts about it. But yeah, I guess there was the possibility that year or the year after, but it wouldn't make sense to do it with like multiple guys and not just one or two. So when it doesn't happen for one, then you're like, okay, we're not doing that. So
this like run that the boys just went on this year, was it similar, do you think, to that 07 year? From what you remember?
I would say we probably had a bit more expectation on us just because we made a big trade in acquiring Bourdon from, was it Valdor at the time?
Yes. Well, Moncton, who was from
Moncton.
Played Valdor the year before.
Okay, yeah. So I think adding him and knowing what we were losing in terms of like body count the next year, it was probably a little bit more expectation on us. But
it was like your go for it year.
Yeah. After that, it was, I mean, like I said, we had a good group of older guys, but not enough to really, not without making some sacrifices on the younger end to really go for it the year after.
So that next year, did you unload?
No, we pretty much stayed. I don't think we really added or subtracted anything.
Yes, McClellan came in. It was kind of some minor trades.
Yeah, so it was. Yeah, sorry, no disrespect to anybody that was traded for that year. It was just we made. I think if you looked at it like from a league perspective, probably made it what some would say a lateral move, like Clendening LaBerge. Like
it seemed to help both teams.
That was actually at the end of we were. I think we were ranked first in the CHL at that time.
I remember this.
And we had no business, really, like with the roster makeup.
This is the 07 year?
This is the year 07, 08.
Yeah, 07, 08.
Year after. Yeah.
And we spent a good number of weeks there. And then we went on a 3-3 in Quebec. And we asked, I think because we were doing so well, our coach said, yeah, you guys, we'll give you, when we get there, we'll give you a night. A bit of a late curfew. It wasn't anything crazy, but a bit of a late curfew. And so we had our fun that night. And then I think in those 3 games, we got outscored 18-1, lost all 3, went from first in the CHL top 10 to out of the top 10. And I remember our coach, Pascal, came in after the last game. It was in Baie-Comeau and said, someone played their last game as an Eagle. And then on the way back, traded LaBerge for Clendening.
Holy freak.
Yeah. And, so from there, it's just like we kind of stayed this. I don't even remember where we finished. It was probably like top 2 or 3 in our, was it conferences then?
Yeah, well, that was like
changed so
Halifax
much
in the second round that year. So
yeah,
can't remember how the exact standings went up. But like you look back, that 06-07 team, like you said, had expectation. And the 07-08 team ends up being really good the first half from a player's point of view. What do you think is more fun? Like that going on that deep playoff run when you know expectations on you, or having some success when maybe it's a little bit surprising?
Yeah.
I think the answer is like simple for me. It's whichever one goes first.
Right.
But if you had to pick in the moment, I don't know. I like that expectation part. Like there's nothing like playoffs. Like so when like that's the expectation and you anticipate being a part of that for 2-3 rounds minimum, that part's fun for me. Like I really enjoyed that, and we spent. I mean, it was only 2 years, but you could start to see like the roster get better and better over the years, and added Fergus the year before, and McElveen came in as a free agent, and it just started to take shape for it to make sense for that year to be the year. So it was, I don't know. I love the expectation of it.
I think the birds are loving the podcast. I don't know if the people saw that.
I know. I don't know. I just looked in the camera to see if you could see them. But
I can just see your guys' eyes darting left and right.
They were just, Chris is such a good speaker. They just gripping every word.
I was going to say, like, I like how I found with this year, because it was kind of like, I don't want to say a surprise, but because it wasn't like the expectations weren't there.
Yeah.
I found that like the team growing so much over the year was like so organic that like I think that's why people really got behind it, because it was like they were playing like playoff hockey, and they're playing the kind of hockey that it's like, it's easy to be a fan of, because it's like they're getting better and better, and they're playing this like this certain way that's taking them here when maybe they didn't have necessarily the assets that was expected to go the whole way. Yeah,
it can be a little bit of a tricky place to get the support. I think ultimately, as a community, you want a team that's going to show up and be consistent in their effort. Give them something to cheer about, give them something to be proud about. But at the end of the day, like, I don't know if anything will replace winning. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you always want to have that opportunity to win. But I think the bare minimum for the crowd, for the fans in general, is the effort part, and just representing the area as well as they can.
Yeah. And in 2023-24, we had Brad Chandler's excellent work on social media, and in 2007, it was J.C. Sawyer creating the Eagles bandwagon Facebook group, if I remember correctly.
Is that right?
I think so. I could be wrong.
Sorry,
don't
JC,
even know if I have the details wrong. We're going way back.
If I would have had a Facebook account, to be honest. But.
Yeah, 07.
Yeah,
well, I mean, my job, I don't even think it existed in 2007.
No, probably not.
Yeah, that part of the game has definitely come a long way for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that happened with that 07-08 team, because you had the strong season in 06-07, and you obviously there's an aim to compete, and Joey's one of the guys you bring in.
Yeah.
So you obviously would have had a connection with Joey, and you guys almost seem to be following each other around in your hockey, or just talk about your memories of him, and I guess you still keep pretty close contact with him.
Man, I completely forgot about that. When I just said I don't want to disrespect anyone we traded for.
Well, that was before the season, to be fair.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Let's go with that. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, I don't think we played together until midget. Like, even any spring stuff. Joe might have started a bit later in hockey, actually. But playing against him, he was always he's what you saw. Right. Like, he would take his shots when he could, but like strong, competitive, do anything to win type of guy. And I think people, like, as teammates, you kind of get drawn to that, right? That's always, you want that kind of person on your team. Joe, yeah, we started in midget, and 1 year for me and him together there, and then he was drafted the following year, PEI, right? And yeah, after that, it was nice just hearing that trade and knowing that he was coming back home and having another face, I guess, a familiar face to share the experience with. And it is something when you have someone else to go through representing the area, you know what I mean? And kind of taking that on your shoulders just because you're from here. So it's great to do that with Joe. I think ever since then, we have been, I don't know what the right word is, I guess, like following each other around without even trying to, in a sense, with some lapses. I mean, I went to UMB, you went to pro, right. So there's a gap there. But then after I finished at UMB, I was tried North American Pro just at the end of my last season, and at that age, didn't really want to go through the ups and downs of AHL, East Coast, what's it going to be. And
where were you in the East Coast?
I went to Gwinnett, where Joe was, funny enough. Oh. Yeah. So I went to Texas again, first in the AHL, and I just, for whatever reason, I didn't love it. And it was, I guess, coming from UNB, where it's 5 years of, like, you know, you got a good group of people that stayed together for, 3+ years or whatever it is. Yeah. And then going to pro there, and it was just like, for them, I'm sure it's just another body that's come through the door, right? And no one's really, like, going out of their way to make you included or anything like that. And just, not that makes anybody a bad person. It's just like, that's the experience of pro. Right. People are coming and going all the time. So I just didn't love that part of it, like, away from the rink. It felt so different. And so I ended up leaving, and I actually came back and then went down to Gwinnett and played, I think it was just 3 weeks, but they only had 6 games left. So it was almost like a little vacation where I just played with Joe for 3 weeks down there.
How old were you at this point?
I was 25, and that was a part of it. Like, I didn't want to go through. If I was 20 and doing that, that'd be different. Yeah. But at that time, it's just, I didn't have the drive to.
You did 4 years UMB?
5.
Oh, 5 years. Okay.
5 years UMB, yeah, and then down there, and then like we went to Cardiff. I had the opportunity to go to Cardiff. I brought up Joe, I think, and funny enough, Joe had played with the coach, the guy who was going to be the player coach. So then we got in conversations there, and then if Joe wasn't going, I probably would have stopped playing hockey at that point. Damn. But I was ready to just have fun, take it year by year, and Joe and his fiance at the time, I better get that right, Kirsten. 3 of us went together, and 3 of us lived together our first year. Wow. So it was a blast. Yeah.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
And you were talking about UNB, like, obviously there was big news recently about Gardiner MacDougall making his way into the queue. What was your reaction to seeing that? Because obviously,
pretty wild. Just because, I mean, it is and it isn't. Like, it would be very difficult to leave that job just with the security that he's built up for himself. But at the same time, I know how driven he is to, like, keep pushing boundaries and stuff like that. And if there's something that he believes he can achieve, he's going to push for it. So in that aspect, like, I wasn't surprised. But yeah, just as I said, it's just, I would imagine it was a pretty secure job. He could stay there for as long as he wanted to coach and do well and still have that. So it's going to be interesting. Like, I'm interested to see that and follow along.
You and Gardiner also, this is something that probably kind of gets lost in the weeds of your career. You end up winning the gold medal at the World University Games, and Nick McNeil's there too. I don't think people really know a lot about that tournament. Just what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, from my understanding, it's supposed to be, like a university version of the Olympics. It was unfortunate when we went just because it was so cool. Supposed to be, I can't remember what it was supposed to be, but the government ended up not being able to back it financially. And so kind of last minute they had to change locations, and usually you're all just in one spot, and all the athletes have like a little athletes village. It's kind of similar to the Olympics in that case, but we didn't get that just because it had to change location. So everything was spread out. We didn't get to see a whole lot of other events going on, but we were in a little like ski town in northern Italy, and it was just
Italy.
Yeah, it was just for the 4 teams in our division, I think, that were there. That was it. And you could like walk through the whole town in probably like an hour. And if you walk down to the ski hill, get the gondola up to the top, and you can see like the mountains forever. It was really cool.
Wow.
There was a little like bar up at the top, and we went up there when we had a day off. It was a good time up there. But the event itself, it was really cool because the AUS, like with there being no fighting, it can get pretty heated.
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, there is fighting, but there's just severe consequences. So,
Right.
so it doesn't happen often. So like it's a pretty chippy league. But it was cool to spend some time with guys that you're used to competing with, and have that opportunity. We ended up winning gold there. I actually remember me and one of my teammates from UNB, Tyler Carroll is his name. We both, I don't know if we got like food poisoning or something, but like we had some kind of sickness where like couldn't get up, and we were playing the semifinal the next day. So it happened 3 a.m. and then I told Gardiner like I don't know if I can play, and he was like, no, you'll be fine, and I was like, I can't go like a half hour without it coming out of one end or the other. And he was like, no, we'll take care of you. You'll be fine. It's like, all right. So funny enough, I realized that Herbie, my buddy, was going through the same thing. So we get on the bus, and you got to drive through the mountains. Like I can't do that on a good day,
Right.
without getting sick. But made it through, played 1-2-1, and then got on the way back. We got back, and then just got like the IVs going and pumped into us from there, and then felt really good after. Those things are like magic. But
At this point, Chris was begging for a long road trip to Rwanda. It was less painful by comparison.
yeah. And then, we played Kazakhstan in the final, who actually beat us, I think, in the round robin.
This is an insane tournament.
Well, there's always, like, you never know it's true, but there's rumors, like, they would get some of their, like, pro players to sign up in online classes.
No way.
So they're considered a student athlete. But
So sorry to cut you off, was Canada, like, it was just in, like, an all-star
it was
league
just
match?
the AUS. Yeah, it used to go like
Conferences?
they would rotate conferences. Yeah. So this year that we went, it was the AUS's turn to pick an all-star team to go.
Wow.
Every team had to have one player. The most you could have was 4 from one team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Nick was with you?
Nick was
Nick McNeil?
Yeah. Nick
Wow.
was there as well. Trying to think of anybody else that we would.
So cool how you and Joey and Nick are just like
All intertwined.
Yeah.
for like
Yeah.
25 years.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
expect when you stepped down from the Eagles coaching that Nick would be the one? To
We
take your place?
we had talked before that, yeah, and I knew Nick would, if he could, be closer to home than Moncton. So I'd given him the heads up that I was going to do that, just so he had an idea of what was coming and had an opportunity to pursue that if he wanted to, which he did and which worked out, obviously.
How did you get involved with coaching with the Eagles?
I thought it was something that I always wanted to do, and so when I stopped playing, I was actually I signed a contract to go back to Cardiff for a 4th year, but I wasn't dying to go back. I wasn't like missing it when I was in the off season or anything like that. So, like I said before, I was ready at any point after I stopped at UNB to stop playing. And it's funny how like your priorities change. My last year in Cardiff, I think we had 2 single guys on the team, and I was one of them. And so everybody was like with their partners, with their fiancés and everything, or husbands, wives, whatever, kids. So it just like it became very hard to have a social life outside of the game. And you're over there like you're done for the day at 12. So you practice first thing in the morning, you're done at 12. So you have 12 till the end of the day to find something to do. And it was tougher to do with that few single guys.
Yeah.
So that was actually a big part of why I was like, this hasn't been as much fun as what it used to be. So yeah, just coming back, a coach that had coached me in midget, he was coaching at the time, and just I had actually applied for the Bantam job just to do it, just to see what that was like. And then he said, well, you're welcome to come on and help me out. So I did that. Did that for 2 years, and
Cougars?
then Tradesman it was
Tradesman
called.
time,
Yeah,
yeah.
now the Rush.
Yeah.
And he was stepping down after that, and I was taking over. I did the spring camp as the head coach, and then I think it was John Hanna, John, that got in touch with me, and I just went up to have a chat with him about potentially coming on board. And then, through some conversations with him and Gerard, it ended up happening that year.
Wow. And what about, how did you transition from here, I guess, back into the Rush now as head coach?
That was, it was always like, what's the reason why you do it? And I was, like I said, I always feel connected to this organization, this team. So I wanted to help out, and I had a blast doing it, but I just felt like the travel was something that I was not thrilled about, I guess, after doing it since being like 15.
Right.
It was just kind of wearing on me. And so I was less enthusiastic about that. It was tough. Like at that time, Cass was still on board as a head coach, and I had loved coaching with Cass. So that was like, it was tough to come to that decision. And Sly had just taken over. I've heard from a couple people around in hockey, like how good of a guy he was, and they're saying like, you're going to want to be there. And so that was tough too. I didn't even know him, and I had to have that conversation with him, but it was a tough decision, but ultimately I'm more aligned with, like, I want to help kids in our area that are like coming up, rather than just the best kids where I can get to in coaching.
Right.
So it was more about helping locally, I guess, than anything.
And obviously you guys had a big year. What was it like doing the TELUS Cup?
Yeah, it was a very good learning experience for me. It's 5 years basically as an assistant, and I had coached Pee Wee AAA just for something to do last year. It was Scotty Guthrow's boy was coming through, and I thought that would be fun to knowing Scotty, and if you know the Ben and Max at all, like, they're just such good kids that it would be fun to coach them. Coach one, I guess, Ben. So this being like the first time of probably like there's more at stake, I guess, and being the head coach, it was a good learning experience for sure. Like there's some things that I would change and then look to change for next year going into it, but it's a challenging year in the fact of, like, I believe we're just a little bit behind the way our minor hockey system is set up, and if things were more aligned from like the top down, we would speed up the process for our kids being ready at 15 to get the attention from scouts and be prepared for major junior. But we have different organizations doing different things, and so when they come to us, when they come to the Cougars at Bantam level, it's just kind of like you're trying to get everybody on the same page for so much of the year, and then the things that you want to like progress to, for us, it didn't happen until probably like January, where we're spending the first 2/3 of the year just trying to get everybody on the same page. So I feel like that stalls our kids quite a bit in terms of, like, when you're watching your peers, and when scouts are watching their peers, like, they're quicker, they're more connected in how they play. And maybe that's, if you ask someone from Halifax, maybe they would have a different opinion on that, but it just seems like that's the way it is. So
what is it they're doing different?
Well, I mean, if you look at their minor hockey and how the technical directors, I think for the number of kids that they have that go into their systems, and then maybe like spread out or come from different areas from Bantam, and then like 2-3 teams in Bantam, then to one team, it just feels like, whether that's in minor hockey or not, for us to compete with the population difference, the only way to do it is to be more connected, like all the way through. If you look at like Finland compared to Canada and the US, and you look at how they do things for development, everything is like top down, and they'll have regional people that they can reach out to that are answering to the people at the top who are teaching things the way they want taught.
Yeah.
So everything is just in line all the way through.
Okay.
So maybe it's not even something that they're doing different, but just, I think the only way that we can have consistent success with our population, with our demographic, with the way things are here.
Okay.
Well, you talk about changes. One change you're going to have to deal with next year is no Rory Pilling, because we hope he's going to be on the ice behind you. How do you think Rory's going to do at the Q level?
Yeah, I fully anticipate that. He's just such a smart player that I think he'll be adaptable no matter what the situation is. It was extremely unfortunate, the injury and how much it kept him out. I was really looking forward to coaching him. And then it just, the way the year went, like we didn't have as much time together, obviously, as I would have liked. And a lot of it was spent on him just recovering and rehabbing and stuff like that. So he's had a tough couple years in terms of like playing wise, just with the injuries he's dealt with. But hopefully, he gets to a place physically where he feels like he's at a solid foundation and ready to go for camp. But he, like I said, smart players, like they find a way to survive and adapt and have success, and I would expect that of Rory.
Jumping back a little bit, there's something I want to show you guys that.
Going back to the year Rory Pilling was born, 2007.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
See, there's always a connection.
Yeah. I'm gonna show you something. Get your reaction to this, Chris.
Okay.
I wonder what it could be.
There's no way of knowing.
I've had this. Did this with Mavs, and he showed me, and I had no idea what he was showing me actually.
Okay.
One of the
Okay,
times. So
Mav's stealing our spot. I
there
guess
is a
to be fair, he
chance.
did it first.
If you could dissect this for me.
Who's that guy?
Yeah. What was he like playing against him?
just as you'd expect. It's another super competitive, hard to play against guy. Good stick. See, I remember there being like a lot of heat for this. I don't know if you do, Patty, but like whether it was online or just in the media in general, like
the
people
discussion about whether it should have been
whether
a
it was
shot?
a penalty, whether it was a penalty and then a penalty shot.
Right.
But if you look, like the guy's stick comes in the back of my leg.
Man,
and, like, I
Do you
followed this.
Can
way.
you like picture and feel his stick going into your leg?
Yeah.
He has
And it's
no
like-
reason to lie about it all these years later.
Well, I wouldn't. If it was like a trip this way, I would have fell forward. But,
yeah, but
I
what-
fall on my butt
He literally like
there. Yeah.
Is that beast
that's exactly
Yeah.
what he was doing. Like
Yeah. So I don't know how you can say that wasn't. But anyway, yeah, that was. You know what? A lot of that just happened because of like emphasis on being good without the puck and like good stick in the D zone in the shooting lane, force a pass.
Now, at this point, are you thankful that you've had experience in the shootouts? Are you thinking about that at all?
No,
Coming-
God, no. I was so terrible at these that it was like, I have nothing to lose, basically. And I asked Pascal, I was like, any advice? And he said, shoot where it's open. It's like, well, and it sounds like, thanks a lot. But it actually did help because I was like, all right, that like
Just in the crowd,
singularly
too.
focused
Don't
me.
overthink it.
Shoot where it's open.
He shot where it was open.
Yeah.
6 alley too.
That was terrible. I get chirped about that quite a bit. If like any of the guys see it, yeah.
Why?
Because I didn't go down on one knee and draw hard.
Oh,
and
man.
punch my
I don't know. I
fist
think it's
through it.
cool
I
like
don't
you're
know.
coming into the
organic.
fans because like
sick.
I would be there. I'm like there in section 16. You're coming right into the people.
It's sick.
It's like such a fine line of like being a super confident player, not like I just felt like I had nothing to lose. I didn't expect to score, but I was like, so when I did score, I didn't really know what to do in terms of like the celebration part. I
Do you think you
definitely
guys
wasn't.
win in OT if you don't score on that shot?
Maybe
How far into OT
Yeah.
was this? I didn't even see the scoreboard.
5, 7 or 8 minutes.
I can't remember.
Ish.
Yeah.
Jeez, I wasn't
Still
remember
first
that.
OT.
That was game 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was going through I didn't go through the archives, but when I recovered this, there's something else that I want to show you guys. I think it will like. Eat now.
See, now I have no idea what's coming.
So later on in this broadcast, so the game ends obviously.
I actually think I know where this is going, but we'll see.
He gets the penalty shot call, Paul, and makes no mistake.
And a good look at Pavlik down there. He was down on one knee with the head down. I didn't notice
low
that
glove.
beforehand, but Pavlik was down on
low
one
glove.
knee, head down on the ice.
Duchesne.
He had a really good series too.
Smart goal there. Smart thinking goal by Chris Culligan.
And really quick hands, too.
Hey,
There's Patrick McNeil. He's a big Eagles fan.
that can't be me because he has
Look
hair.
at that,
And tomorrow
Patty.
night.
Holy
That's
crap.
sick.
Eagles.
It all ties
With
together.
the mop on too.
And Dan Robertson with the name drop.
Yeah, that's why.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Threw it out?
I was
Nice.
going through it and I was like, wait now.
He
'Cause
knew
literally
there's-
says,
that's a
there's
young
Patrick
broad-
McNeil.
That's a broadcaster.
Does he still do NHL games? Is he Winnipeg now?
Yeah, Winnipeg. Yeah, so he's.
Oh yeah, right on.
That's kind of cool too. That like your kind of defining memory as an Eagles player is like is a future NHL broadcaster
Yeah.
on the call. So
There's nobody better to remember this memory than Pat can prove that he was 100%.
I was
there.
exactly.
Like, listen to what he
well, I was gonna
says.
say, like, too, you could see.
Listen
like,
what he says.
There's Patrick McNeil. He's a big Eagles fan.
Well, it's just like at that
And,
point,
tomorrow
he's looking in
night,
the crowd. Oh, there's like
the
10
Eagles
people. This is
will
well
come
after
into
the
this
fact,
He's still
right?
there.
So
But
they're-
as too, like you see after Cully scores the goal, he's coming, and you could probably tell that that's the part of the crowd that I'm in. I mean, he was probably just celebrating
yeah.
with me.
Oh,
yeah, I saw Patty in the
Yeah,
stands.
it's
So I
like,
was just trying to jump up there.
Number one
So you
fan.
might even be in that one. You
No,
might even
no.
be in the original Selly.
There could be. I
You
might
going
be in
over the glass.
We were discussing how there's like I think it was shout out George Ratchford. I think had a fan video on YouTube. That's the kind of one that
Yeah,
people watch.
that
a
one's
lot.
so cool. Yeah, because
Yeah.
just like it gets so quiet right before the shot. And
Oh,
then it's
yeah.
just like everyone's up.
Yeah, I found
Kind
that
of gives
sick.
you the true, authentic crowd experience.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, media is different back then, right? So
Yeah, it's sweet.
Totally different world.
What about that whole series? Because that was a memorable one. Was it?
Yeah, I mean
not?
it's for some wrong reasons at the same
Yeah.
time. But when you look at what the experience, I guess, gave me, like just having that was our first real. Felt like our first real introduction into like intense playoffs. And I'll remember forever game one. I think we started, or I'm just making this up. And so we were on the blue line, and you couldn't hear the anthem. Like the fans.
Yeah, bake 'em up.
Yeah, it's,
For
like,
different
it's just
reasons,
so
though.
cool.
Yeah.
Like I was standing on the blue line smiling like an idiot. Like this is so cool that this is happening. Like the fans are that much into it,
Yeah.
and yeah, maybe a little disrespectful to the anthem, but that's neither here nor there. But
Some debates are still being had in 2024.
Yeah.
yeah, it was awesome. I remember just wanting to win so badly. I went to Pascal at one time and said, like, I'll put me out against Marchand. Like, I'll cover him. I'll cover him. Like, not that like physically or anything like that, but just felt like smart enough that I could stay above him and have a good stick and make that frustrating for him. So I was just dying to win. I just wanted to win so bad. But it was confidence, like just skyrocketed for me through that whole playoffs, I guess. And playing with Shep obviously really helps. That whole year it really helped. If you look at my goal, just like this, where that 1 year I got the 30 goals playing with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to not be like to be around, I guess, point a game at some point at like 18 and 19. I don't know if I was at 18, but 19, 20.
18 season.
But I think playoffs I was like I don't know, I was always fired up for playoffs. I wanted to do what I could to win, so I was always something that I took a lot of pride in is how I played, I guess, in the playoffs, and that was me realizing, I guess, that I could do that, or I was capable of that.
And did you feel like you were talking about that crowd? Did you feel like this building was back to that form this playoffs?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was very similar to what I remember. For the same reasons of like just being a different time, it didn't seem like as much. Like the buildup was different. It was like signs on businesses, you know
Right.
what I mean? And it was
that.
stuff like that. People were showing their support through like the stands out in front, where it would say like in front of the parking lot, like "Go Eagles, go" and stuff like that, or in the windows. It wasn't through like social media, you know what I mean? And it wasn't just like, I guess, accessed by your phone. It was like you're out in the streets and experiencing as much as anything. So that was like the cool part of it then. But in the game, yeah, I remember. It's funny. I remember that stuff more than like what the crowds were like in the rink. I'm assuming they were good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at that clip, that helps you get an idea. So that part of it, yeah, it was always fun to represent a team that represents your hometown, and to have like people that engaged. It was awesome.
It's funny, we're watching the clip against Val-d'Or because Marchand's on the other side, but a lot of people might not remember you, Marchand, and Shepard are on that team Atlantic Canada that wins bronze at the U17s, and eventually they went away from that format because it was tough for Canada to win with 5 teams. The smallest region in the country wins bronze playing against Finland,
nuts.
Russia. Incredible. What do you remember about that tournament?
That was another thing of like, I was so sheltered, man. I had no idea what I was trying out for. I never made a single Nova Scotia team. I never got invited to like, so they always do like the first camp where I'm pretty sure at that time anybody could register and go. Like there could be hundreds of kids, and then they'd cut it from there to a summer camp. I never made a single like summer camp for Hockey Nova Scotia, let alone a team. So I certainly wasn't going into a Team Atlantic like tryout thinking I'm going to make this team. But just the way things work, it happened that way. I remember the summer camp being pretty fun. We were in Acadia at the dorms and stuff like that, so it was just fun to spend the time around the guys. The tournament, yeah, we actually, the three of us I think played on a line together, if I remember correctly. It's one of these things is not like the other.
Wow.
No wonder you won.
But it was we had a good team. Like, we had a lot of good players. That 88 group, I think from Nova Scotia in particular, was pretty strong.
Right.
There was Hillier was there, Bodnerchuk was there, Blake Gallagher. I think he was a Hobie Baker nominee from Cornell as well. So there was
Robert Slaney as well.
Robert Slaney, yeah. Matt Eagles was New Brunswick. There was a real good group of kids. Bona, I think, played for the Mooseheads.
Sounds right.
So we just went into it. We had God, I can't remember the guy's name here, the artist, but the Small Towns Big Dreams. You know that song, country song?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Country, right?
Yeah.
That's not ringing.
From where?
God, I can't remember. I can't believe
Where's he from?
I think he's from Out West. But anyway,
Remember that,
that song was kind of like our theme. We got into that. We would play it. If we won, we'd play it while we're stretching or cooling down or stuff like that. It was just, in a short time, we became so close as a group that it was just, I don't know if we ever felt like we had anything to lose. You know, and we were just there playing and having fun, and the success came for us. Like, we played a first game. It was called Crow's Nest Past somewhere in Alberta, and just played Germany in an exhibition game. I think it was, I actually have no idea. It was like really physical, but I can't remember the score of the game or what happened. It was, but it wasn't any reason for us to be like, oh, we're gonna be lights out at this thing. But
Where was it? Where was the tournament?
it was Lethbridge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
88 age group. Any like big NHL guys that you remember playing?
Well, we actually had a couple. Taves we lost in the semifinals to one of either Western Pacific, and Taves, I think, was on that team that we lost to. I think we lost 6-5 or something like that. But Biega was one of the.
Okay.
He played, I think, a little bit in the NHL. I'm so bad for stuff like that anyway that I'm the worst person to go back and look at a program. Would be interesting. But yeah, we just game by game, confidence built up, I guess, and became closer and closer. And yeah, we had a good group of guys. It was really fun. It's tough to lose in the semifinal, but it's more fun to win bronze and lose gold. So we had a real good game. I think we played, I can't remember if it was Ontario or Quebec, played one of the two in the bronze medal game. And again, like for Team Atlantic to go against those guys. But we had a couple underagers too, and Alex Grant and Logan McMillan. Those two guys I think they were both first rounders.
Grant, who was the other one?
Logan McMillan.
Oh, yes.
PI.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
So we had a good team. It was just Atlantic Canadian kids being Atlantic Canadian kids, I think.
You mentioned like what it was like playing against Marchand. What was he like as a kid, like off the ice?
He was super confident. Let's put it that way. Yeah, he was what you'd expect, like super confident. It's been real interesting, just like following his career, because I don't think you would at that time think that he would be the superstar that he is and has become. Like, power to him. It's one of those examples of like, if you have that confidence, like where it can take you, right? So it's been interesting following him, but yeah, he was that way. Like he liked to chirp, he liked to poke at guys and like try to get guys going. But yeah, he's like, I think once you know how to take him, like, you're good.
Yeah.
Now, he's captain Boston. Obviously, you're captain here. You talked about being with your hometown team. How cool was that to be a captain? And that kind of came full circle because you were one of the ones in the dressing room this year when Zach Bigger got to see.
Yeah, it was. Well, it meant quite a bit when you look at the two immediate guys that I followed in Shep and Dino that both wore it before me. So that was, really cool to have that. And it's not like we had any shortage of options at that time with like Slaney and Joe there as well. And to represent the area again, it just like keeps coming back to that, I guess, and it feels like, I guess, a little bit more responsibility on your shoulders. But for me, it was, if I got that, it was just because of my actions. It wasn't that I was going out and like getting guys going or pushing them or like supporting your teammates is one thing, but I'm not the type to stand up and give a rousing speech to get everybody going. It was just doing the little things and doing them consistently and trying to be consistent in my own actions, I guess, with that. So always a big honor and felt even more so following those two guys.
And it was pretty cool, too, because it gets announced at the draft down there. They're getting ready to pick Logan Shaw, and they announce, here's Chris Culligan, our new captain. I assume you knew beforehand, but still probably pretty cool that the first time everybody else learned is while you're standing up on stage in your home rink.
Yeah, Mario, because that's when Pascal left for Montreal, so Mario was taking over, and he had told me prior to that that he wanted me to be captain, that he was going to announce it, or team was going to announce it on the stage. And then they told me that I was going to do the pick, and I was like, oh, God. Just to keep saying from the trade with the 13th overall pick, Cape Breton Trays and Logan Shaw from the 13th overall pick.
Should have got that clip.
Did you have to rehearse that one?
Yeah. I to myself, I did, yeah. But it went pretty well, and obviously it was really cool to pick Shazi from that, too, and knowing it was another Cape Breton kid, another local guy. It was pretty cool, and then to have the year to play with him as well.
So cool. And like obviously being here so long, you racked up a lot of points. I think you're still the most games in Eagles history, most points, and then
plus minus, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Just to prove two-way guy.
Yeah.
We're reaching.
Will it ever be beaten?
It was that's to me like it's just such a reflection of what the organization was at that time. I think it was probably the peak for like consistency. I think all 5 years we had 40 wins.
Yeah, over 500 every year.
And never really like sold, right? Yeah. If I'm correct in saying that. So it was an opportune time to come in. Obviously, like there's things that I did well that helped me do that, but I had 5 good teams, coaches that trusted me to play, good teammates, good line mates, like all that stuff that contributes to that. The games played one, like knowing my stature at 16, the games played one is probably the most impressive because and what our D looked like at that time, like practice was a nightmare for me. Like I wasn't getting through practice without having to get stitches or something. Yeah. Like I was getting beat up pretty good.
Did you stay pretty healthy your whole career in the Q anyway?
Yeah, I don't think I had less than like, well, my first year would have been less just from not playing every game as a 16, but other than that, I don't think I had less than 60.
The chances of that being beaten to are getting less and less now with the 64 games.
Was it still 72 when you started? I think it was down to 70 then, wasn't it?
I think it was 68.
Oh, it was already at 68?
I think so, yeah.
I didn't realize it was. When was it 72?
Well, it would have been 72 when the Eagles came in. I don't remember. It was 72, then 70, 68, now 64.
10 games off the NHL.
Yeah, can you imagine?
That's a lot without the flights.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't all with Cape Breton, but Gentile hit 300.
Yeah.
300th was here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, if you get in the right situation as a 16-year-old and like you have some space to grow confidence and the opportunity to get that part, then that can happen. I was just more impressed like knowing like how beat up I got when I got to that.
I'm thinking about that now. You would have been on the bench when they had that ceremony for Gentile.
That's right.
300. That was kind of a full circle moment, I bet.
Yeah, it was cool to coach him. I missed Bombas the year before, but it was cool to have Jens too. And that was the year where we took forever to pick a captain with such an older team. And Jake was like real conscious of all, the older guys and stuff like that. But Jens was acting as a captain for probably the entirety of the year. So, and now work with his dad actually with the Rush. He's the president of our organization there. So, it was nice to coach Jens. Such a easy going, but put him out there and give him any kind of responsibility, he could do it. And it probably would have been our shutdown guy, like if we got the playoffs that year, which we unfortunately didn't. But I remember we put him against Lafreniere when they came, Rimouski there, and we had a good crowd. It was just right before COVID, actually.
Yeah.
But he was another guy, like smart guy. Like I said, they're adaptable, so he made that. I don't know how happy he was about not being, the offensive guy, but I think it helps when you're in your hometown and you just want to win. You want to have those things and you're willing to do whatever.
Full circle again because it reminded him of watching Brendan McDonald shut down Sidney Crosby.
That's right. Yeah. Old Doyd did the trick back then.
So then obviously after that long career, a couple of years ago. It wasn't even that long ago. I guess
Fall
years.
2022.
Yeah, you had your jersey risen, which is
hanging in the
right over your
background.
shoulder.
Yeah.
I think you can see
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Well placed.
yeah.
Great framing, Brett.
Much bigger than Marc-Andre Fleury's too. I don't know if that was.
That actually bothers me. I hate that it's bigger.
Yeah.
It's just
Trying to be a modest guy here. But
yeah.
Even from back here, you can tell it's pretty big. But
Yeah.
talk about that night because that must have been quite an honor.
It was, yeah. I think I am always going to look at it differently than everybody else. I just think it's so much a reflection of the people that I got to play with and that time and what it was to be on the Eagles at that time and coaching that we had. Like it was just the timing of it more than anything. What somebody means to an organization versus what somebody brings to an organization, like that can be argued different ways. But it's nice. Like to me, it's probably nicer for my family and for my parents, probably more than anything, to be able to see that. And like we said before, the sacrifices and commitments that they would have made, not just for me, but for my brother and sisters as well, for us all to have the opportunities, I guess, that we did. It probably means more to them. And I don't mean to sound like ungrateful or anything like that. It's just, it's not why I played. It wasn't like a motivation for me. Like, I'm going to get my jersey retired.
It's pretty crazy.
It's cool. It's great. I'm happy it's there. It's not something I think about very often.
You're in good company too.
Yeah, but that's, you know what I mean? It's just something where like it's a little bit of and what's the saying? Like when you're you don't feel like you necessarily belong there.
The imposter syndrome?
Yes, that one. Imposter syndrome. Oh boy, Patty.
Nice one.
It's a little bit of that. Like we're like, I don't know, but sure. Like,
did you ever cross paths with Fleury? Like, or he was gone right before you left?
He would have been 21 my first training camp. So he was here just to get on the ice before he went to Pittsburgh.
Because I just see
you didn't get to shoot on him though?
I did.
Oh, nice. And
I did.
how'd that go?
First shot, first drill. Right between the ice isn't in. Right between the hash marks, like where as a coach now, I would be so angry if we were warming up goalies and someone shot from there, and I shot low blocker and scored, and like he didn't even move because he was just like just waiting to get hit.
See, and he says he doesn't remember things like that.
Oh yeah, well you scored.
Well, that I remember because it was a learning lesson of like that's not how you warm up a goalie. But I could still say that to people. Yeah, I scored on.
Yeah. I love the dynamic of it only being Fleury and you, because it's like kind of like what you said. It seems like it's the two different kinds of guys that you have with an organization.
Cool.
You know what I mean? It's like the obvious star who like is a big name now and is a legend or whatever. But then like I don't want to diminish you and say you're a local legend or anything like that. But I'm saying it's a guy that's was here for the whole the Iron Man. That's what it is.
Yeah, some of the people outside of junior hockey circles might not know, but people in the queue.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, he meant a lot to that team.
Yeah.
Especially being a local guy.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant about like what somebody means to an organization versus what you bring to the organization. Like it can be different, and I understand that. I just, when you're there next to Fleury, it's going to draw some comparisons that aren't going to work in my favor, and that's okay.
Take the accolades and run. So I guess we could wrap up because you, through 5 years of playing with the team, 3 years of coaching with the team, and just kind of being around as a local guy, you, more than anybody, would have a pulse on all the people who've come through this organization. There might be some things in the works there in terms of all the alumni that you know?
Yeah, I think we're just moving into trying to establish an alumni group and have alumni more involved. It's something that I think you want as an organization, just to have people have that feeling again of walking through the doors and being reminded of playing, kind of like you guys asked, and I think it was the first question or second question, whatever it was, like just to be back in the town and have that opportunity to, I guess, mingle and mix with some of the fans that would have remembered them and still like make them feel a part of things. That's where we're at right now, is just starting up a group where we can kind of get everybody on the same page in terms of anything that we're asking from alumni or opportunities that we're giving to have them involved. So it's early stages, as you can probably tell as I fumble through this, but I'm excited about it, because it's like you said, it's obviously something that means a lot to me to be a part of the organization and to still feel a part of it. 15, 16 years later, I guess that's kind of what we want from everybody.
Yeah. And there's some more exciting news that we can't say anything about, but that you might be involved in coming up in the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to that. Thanks
We'll
very much,
edit that.
Kelly. Yeah.
Thanks. This is great.
Thanks, guys.